Gamebreaker TV.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to GuildCast episode 48 for November 7th, 2012. You're watching Gamebreaker. I'm Gary Gannon, and today we're discovering the Lost Shores. Colin Johansson makes words at you, and some new gem store items are on the way. All that and more. Of course, we got viewer questions. We love the viewer questions. Keep sending them in. First up, all the way from Seoul, Korea, we've got Scott Hawks. Hi, Scott. Not very talkative today. And of course, quiet. As always, we have Elizabeth Claire. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm glad you like to talk today.
Yeah, good day to not be feeling quiet.
And all the way in from Disneyland, it's Mr. Richie Procopio. How are you, Richie? Richie doesn't want to talk either. Not really sure what's up today. But I guess we'll just have to go with it.
I guess we're not cool enough for them.
Nope. It's Gary, Elizabeth, a hawk, and a Yeti on today's GuildCast. Welcome to episode 48, a monumental moment. All right, so let's get to it, Liz. All right, we needed some, some bonding time on the old GuildCast. Yeah. You and me, screw those guys. They just bring me down.
Seriously, they're lame.
The hawk's always yelling about Guardians and just complaining about
what
stuff.
Is it with him? And
I don't
butter.
know. And yeah, butter, right? Richie
with
got
his
like
Rubik's
creepy
cubes.
Animals that are always moving around in the background. They're creeping
that blue
around.
Elephant thing, and it's just not okay.
Yeah, I don't really
we are better off without them.
I agree. All right, so let's see what we got. So good news. We don't look like idiots. So last week we talked about the leaked information, right? Remember this? We talked about the distributor from Greece releasing some info, and we weren't really sure, but I think we all went on a limb and said, yeah, I think this is probably legit. Fortunately for us, I guess, because you guys just all went along for the ride because I forced you to. But I guess we were correct. So ArenaNet officially announced that the Lost Shores update, and I quote, says, something stirs in the sea of sorrows. So it is looking like an in-game, the new in-game island that we expected. Isn't that how it is kind of looking that way, right?
That's what it seems like. There's a little poster up in Lion's Arch in a couple different places that if you translate it from New Crichton, talks about they found this new tropical island getaway that they'll take people to via a sewer gate. And it is gorgeous.
I know, it's crazy. I mean, we said it for so long, but I mean, the artwork in Guild Wars 2 is just, their environments are just unbelievably gorgeous, aren't they?
It's amazing.
I mean, look at these. Really great stuff. Yeah. You think this is this the island? Is this going to be an island that we've seen in the original Guild Wars at all, or is it something completely new?
It sounds like it's going to be completely new. If it's something from the original Guild Wars, we would kind of assume that it wasn't a brand new island to them, but the way it's worded in these travel kind of advertisement posters, it sounds like it's something totally new that no one has ever seen, because they haven't regressed necessarily as a society. They haven't done less exploring since, so it's not like something has happened to make them forget it. So it seems like this is a totally new place, which
have
is
all those
really
travel
cool.
Have all those travel pamphlets all been completely translated?
Pretty much. There are a couple where it's super tiny and you can only get so close to it. So I think there are a couple words that people are missing from one or two of them, but the majority of them have gone through and been translated, and they're all about dance on the beach, relax under the stars, Avasti landlubbers, come with us. We found this beautiful, amazing paradise, basically.
There's got to be some hidden tidbits in there, though, right? Are there any like little nuggets of wonder in there?
Not really. Some of them are amusing. Like there's also some warning signs because these whales have been washing up on the beaches, and so there are warning signs kind of next to the whale saying Lion's Arch authorities aren't going to be responsible for any lost, eaten, damaged, and or stolen limbs, pumpkin flavored marshmallows, skrit, fancy hats, items of questionable power, items of unquestionable power, just all sorts of things. So the only real nuggets have been just amusing little things in those kind of posters, as opposed to real like lore or clues hidden away.
So needless to say, some crap's going to go down. It's probably not going to be nice. It's probably
I'm guessing that it
pretty
is not the
bad.
tropical paradise we imagine.
Yeah, I definitely don't know if this is exactly what it's going to look like hanging out on the beach. It might look like this, but I have a feeling
It might
be
start like that.
overrun. Yeah.
And then suddenly, like, things arise.
What do you think about level content wise? I mean, is this going? You think it's going to be max level content? You think it's going to be available to everyone? How do you think they're going to do this?
I think they're going to make use of the same world versus world auto leveling. We're not totally sure if that's going to be for everything, because they mentioned that also for the Halloween content update. They said, oh, we're going to use world versus world so everyone can access it, and obviously that didn't apply to the entirety of the content, so I don't know if they're saying that world versus world will also be world versus world style leveling will also be available for all of the content for this, or just some things. I think the big event specifically, they said it was going to be something that everyone could partake in, which is nice.
Yeah, I'd have to say that something like this sounds like content that they're going to have available to absolutely everyone, as long as you can get there, which I'm sure
the way they're marketing it, it would be really terrible if they're like, only if you're level 75 or above. And people are like,
I don't think it's gonna happen.
You said this was a one-time amazing event. I don't understand.
What about the, a big part of the Zaitan story is Zaitan kicking the Navy's ass, right?
Basically, yes.
And I mean, do you think that there's, and here we are, Island, Sea of Sorrows. I mean, do you think that ties into this?
I don't know. I think they said somewhere, I haven't actually found the source, but it's a recurring thing on the forums that it wouldn't be the same kind of risen mob style. So I don't know if it's maybe Bubbles, the deep sea dragons minions that we'll see for the first time. I doubt it. So it looks like it's going to be something totally new and different, but I could be very, very wrong. That particularly looks very kind of Orient and risen from the deeps.
And what do you think about another clue we've got? Involves, and I quote, unraveling a mystery of monstrous proportions. Whoa. I don't know. Any idea what that could be? I mean,
none whatsoever.
Zero.
I've been trying to think. Just no idea. I assume that this is more risen. Yay! Woo! That's the mystery. Everything actually turns into a risen.
How about everything turns into a Yeti?
Yetis. It's going to be an island full of Yetis, and you can only see them like every so often.
They've been displaced, and they're trying to find their way back home to a cool place. But they
can't actually take screenshots because they won't allow photographic evidence.
But really, no idea at all. No spec, nothing. Nobody. What are the
I've been trying so hard, but I mean, it's something aquatic. It's something from the water. Like, we assume that something is wrong with the water somewhere because whales are washing up and being like, I don't want to be in the water anymore. And I feel like something has to be very wrong for a whale to be like, no, I would rather be on land.
Ghost pirates, maybe?
Ghost pirates. Let's run with that.
Just run with that.
Ghost pirates are with that. Yeah. They were all sunk, and then Ore Rising brought them back up, so ghost pirates are definitely what it's going to be. We've decided.
Martin Kirstein made a post on the forums giving some details about how it's going to work. So this is how it's going to all go down. So on Friday, November 16th, at noon Pacific, the event will kick off in Lion's Arch. You guys are going to want to log in then. November 16th, noon Pacific, go to Lion's Arch. The next day, on the 17th, again, noon Pacific, the next phase will begin. And then the final event will be on Sunday. Can you guess what time?
I'm going to guess noon Pacific.
Yeah, it's a good time. I hear it's a good time for everybody to play. I guess
unless you're European.
Yeah.
Sucks to be you guys.
But I mean, so the only thing that players are really going to miss out, though, if they can't make it on time, is hopefully going to be like what we saw at the Halloween event, which is basically a cutscene that you'll be able to at least go to maybe YouTube and watch.
Maybe. From, I think, the same post, Martin Kirsten was saying that there's like a multi-hour event that only runs once.
Oh my God, what is he doing? They're killing us.
I mean, it's such a difficult balance to watch, because if you don't have that sort of one-off thing, people are like, oh, the world doesn't really evolve, it's not actually changing, it's all just static content that repeats. But if you do have it, I can't make that day, I'm scheduled to work, I am on vacation in Disneyland, like, you have 18 things that people have problems with, so it's a really delicate balance.
What do you think of that, though? Because, I mean, I've seen MMOs in the past have tried to do this, like, you know, on the fly sort of dynamic content where, you know, not dynamic content like we've seen in the past few years. They were talking about that earlier, but like, you know, GM spawning events and things like this and like these one-off things. And the problem, like, I hate to say it, but most of the MMOs that tried stuff like that, it ended up failing because such a small portion of the community actually got to see it, and they spent a lot of time and resources on it, and it kind of never really worked. I've never seen a company really pull it off like that. Now, the Mad King Thorn thing I think really worked because really all you kind of missed was a YouTube clip, which the cutscene wasn't really a big deal. You can kind of come in any time and do the event, so...
I think as long as they have enough other content, like, so they've talked about there's a dungeon in this, the dungeon is going to persist afterward, the island's going to persist afterward. So as long as they have enough meaningful content that's going to stay around later, I think it's less of a horrible problem. Like, yes, it'd be a bummer to miss out on this event, this one-time only sort of thing, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be bummed about that, but it's not like they don't get to benefit from the update at all. And I think that's a good kind of approach. I don't know if it's enough, but I hope it is.
It's hard. It's a hard balance. I'm trying to put myself in the shoes. It's like you've got to like now set your calendar and your alarm and like your date, and you've really got to make a really effort to make sure that you're logging in to see this, which I like in certain respects because it really gives, I think, a lot of the hardcore players a reason to make sure that they're going to log in and keeps you logging in, which is great. On the other hand, it's like, yeah, right. I mean, I'd say, but we do shows every day here. Like I can't log in at noon. Almost any of those days, maybe Sunday, so maybe I'll catch the last one. Yeah,
you'll get the big one. I think one thing they need to be really careful of is making sure that their own technical problems don't keep anyone from enjoying it. Like for the Mad King kind of pop-up cutscene that only ran once, the number of players logging in wasn't a problem, but after that they had sincere login and group issues getting into the Mad King Thorn dungeon. And so even though that wasn't a one-time thing, it was okay because they were able to, kind of work on it quickly so people were able to see the cutscene, have technical difficulties, and then enjoy the content. But Lord help them if they have a one-time event and people can't log in.
Oh,
it would be terrible. Like,
yeah, then it's going to spiral into like, extending times and redoing things.
Right, what are you going to do? Like,
we
lied. It's not one-off. It's actually twice for those of you who couldn't log in from, Mississippi westward or whatever it is.
But I gotta say, on the flip side, they haven't really let us down yet as far as events go. They seem to have like their bases covered, right? Like we can't really, there's nothing to really complain about with the Mad King Thorn event. Some of the other events we saw beta like really kind of like followed through. So I can't imagine that they're gonna go through with all this, and it's gonna be, I don't know, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do, and if it's really this one-off thing that will like not get to experience, or how much you actually miss. And we're gonna talk about the dungeon pretty soon because that sounds crazy.
Yeah, it does.
Cray.
Cray.
Are you guys? I wonder if Scott, you gonna make it in? You gonna set your alarm? Make sure you're back from Korea. Richie. Nothing, huh? Nothing. I got nothing today. Are you gonna make, Liz? Are you gonna make a concerted effort to get in there and check out all this stuff?
Absolutely. I will have like 18 billion alarms set. I will make sure to avoid talking to people so they can't ask me to do things with them. I will be there.
That's it. I'm canceling all shows. Gamebreaker's shutting down for 3 days, so we can do.
Exactly.
So I can just log in at noon and make sure we do it. Everything.
I like it.
All right, we're gonna talk about this dungeon and everything else. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. Pocket spoke to Colin Johansson at MMORPG.com. That's coming up, some good stuff. Really quick, I want to tell you guys, I am super excited to be working with Tryon. I know it's a Guild Wars 2 show, but I don't want you guys to miss out. We are giving away 10 copies of Storm Legion. That's Rift's upcoming expansion on Gamebreaker TV. All you got to do, go to gamebreaker.tv/giveaway. We're giving away 10 full copies of the expansion. This comes with the original Rift game as well, so you don't even need the original game. You're gonna get both of them. We're gonna be giving out these in various ways. You guys got to keep watching. We got some more announcements coming this week. We're gonna be doing a launch party for Storm Legion. We're also doing an 8-hour live stream. 8-hour live stream taking over the Twitch for the day. I think right now tentatively looks like we're gonna do the launch party on the 13th, 8-hour live stream on the 15th, I believe. Still waiting to hear back. It's gonna be awesome. Have you checked out Rift at all?
I was able to get my hands on it at PAX East and kind of got both a tour and a little bit of playtime in it. It was awesome. I was super excited to see the new Mage Soul, and the amount of area as far as content is concerned that they've added is fabulous. Dimensions, you would freak on Dimensions. Yeah, seriously.
No, I don't know if you like player housing. I know you like dressing things up and building things. I'm not even kidding, I spent between 6 and like 8 hours on last Saturday just building crap in Dimensions. It's ridiculous.
They took me through dimensions and just like took 18 or 8 or however many items from the inventory. And like, oh, you can place it and do this and this and this and sink this lamp into the rock so it looks like it's floating or this. And I was like, this is so bad for me. I will not live.
No, it's insane. It's like it's taking player housing to the absolute next level, guild houses and all that stuff. If you guys haven't checked it out, go check it out. Go over to riftgame.com or stormlegion.com. You can go to the page here. It tells you everything that's coming in the game. It's awesome. If you don't have Rift, you buy the expansion's going to be like $40. It's cheap. And if you don't have the original Rift game, you can buy the expansion with the core game for I think $50. So that is coming out on the 13th of November. You don't want to miss it. Check it out. I'm a huge fan of Tryon and Rift. So new souls, new dungeons, everything. It's awesome. Go over to stormlegion.com. All right. So next up, Pocket, our very own Hillary Nicole. She's on This Week in MMO with us right here on Gamebreaker TV. She spoke with Colin Johansson for MMORPG.com this week. Got some good info out of him. She pried it out of him. Her blue hair just sucked it right out. She's like,
all that absorbance left over from the dye process.
Exactly. Thanks to the folks over at Guild Wars 2 Guru for giving us some bullet points. Needed some bullet points. So first up, Colin said that they this was interesting. He said they don't want to have the same holiday festival every year, which is kind of we talked about this about reusing content and stuff like that and wondered what was going to happen. I mean, it's somewhat surprising the amount of effort that they're obviously putting into something like the Halloween event, yet they don't want to use them over and over. Right.
So that's, I guess, a great thing. So it means that every year you're not like, oh, I saw that all last year. You have the incentive to be like, ooh, I wonder what they've added. So that's cool. That's like super cool.
He did say that they would use a small amount of content of this year's like as a baseline to build on. So I don't know about you. I'm pretty much assured that we'll see Bad King next year again.
Oh, I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. I think he's an incredibly well-loved, despite his freakish cruelty, character. So I don't think he's going to be going away anytime soon.
But it sounds like we can look forward to a lot more new content, mostly new content coming up with holiday and festival stuff. What do you think of ArenaNet's like just cadence so far and stance on updates? How's it resonating with the community? Is it building a lot of goodwill?
It seems to be. So they came out fairly early on and said, we want to be giving you essentially over a couple months period an expansion worth of content absolutely free, just as part of the updates to the game. And with 2 mini dungeons, 3 jumping puzzles, or switch those numbers, I'm not really sure which. The Mad King dungeon for a time, the holiday event, 30 to 50 new events depending on which quote you look at. They're already kind of making their way there, and we can assume that this new update's going to add a lot more. So their pacing seems to be very robust, and as long as it keeps up this consistently high quality, it's going to do them a lot of good.
He also confirmed that they're going to be doing a lot more special one-off events that aren't just going to be holiday-based. And I assume that the November 16th event is what he's talking about as well. This is probably the first one, the Lost Shores.
Yeah, that seems like it. Yeah, and so he also talked about how they're going to have over several months, they'll have times when the stories kind of chain together, so you have a series of smaller events that unfold and tell a greater story that kind of delves into the lore or what's going on in the land, which is also a superbly cool idea.
So this is kind of their way for moving the story forward, I guess, between major expansion releases, where they can keep the story going and nice flow. And
it seems like it. I'm almost wondering if they intend to steer away from expansions in general. I mean, if they're putting out this much content, they might just have 2 or 3 months that are super heavy, and that is their expansion.
But then they would miss out.
We don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't think so. Only because the thing about the marketing hype that revolves around an expansion.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I mean, that's when people get at a fever pitch to want to like come back to try something, see the new content. Like the smaller patches, like what's happening November 16th. It's like it's a little bit harder to get that message out to the masses, so to speak.
Right. So we'll see, but they're certainly churning out a lot of content in a month-to-month basis from what we've seen.
We also got some confirmation on a question that we had last week about Winter's Day. It's indeed going to be very, very different in Guild Wars 2 because the gods don't exist. I don't know. Any ideas? I mean,
I'd like to clarify that they exist. They're just kind of silent. So no, I don't know. I don't know if like Tyrians have become really secular and they're like, it's just about presence now, or what. They just,
For
they
some
put
reason,
up,
I don't think it's going to be that. I don't really think that that's what they're going to go with. But
they might be. They're just all super greedy now. They're the kind of
big
people
news.
who only go to the temples like once a year for
I gotta
Tyrion
imagine
Easter and Tyrion Christmas.
Hey, here's a snowball. Here you go. Here's a tree.
Yeah.
Now the big news. This is the big news. I think out of this whole entire announcement of the information we got about you touched on before was the new dungeon in Lost Shores. And the twist apparently is that it gets harder the further you go in. Now, first of all, it's slightly confusing to think about that, right? But well, here's two things. First of all, I mean, here's one way to look at it. Isn't the final boss of every dungeon usually the hardest thing in the dungeon?
Clearly haven't played Guild Wars 2 Dungeons. That's not very fair, but they have some really bizarrely balanced bosses throughout dungeons. I've been making a point to play through several of them, and so you'll get to the first boss and you're like, that was horrible! What happened?
I think like Ascalon even has that problem, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty much in most of the dungeons where you're like, this does not make sense progression-wise, I don't understand.
This might be, I guess we were talking about last week as well, that they talked about a new PvE mode, and we all kind of were wondering what that could possibly mean. Like, what could they be doing with PvE? I mean, do you think that this is it? Do you think that it's this dungeon that just gets increasingly difficult as you progress through?
It seems like it, and the way he phrased it, it came to me more like, rather than having a specific end point, like the dungeon goes on much longer and you can get to a certain point and say, like, this is good, we feel like we've made it a decent way in, or maybe you just can't progress further, you go off, you work as a team, you get in later and you go farther. So it sounded almost more like an endless sort of mode, where you just dungeon forever until you find a boss you can't beat. Something else that Scott and I were talking about is later on in the same interview, Pocket asked Colin about, will we see 10-man dungeons? Like, is there going to be content that's made for higher people? And where for other stuff, he was really comfortable saying, like, we don't have any teams currently working on that. He was like, I don't want to spoil it all just yet. So my mind instantly is like, ooh, we're going to have, like, multi-team dungeons. So Scott and I are theorizing, and we have our tinfoil hats firmly on for this. We're thinking that that's kind of what this new PvE mode is the new type of dungeon that might be made for more than 5 players. So that's kind of what we're hoping to see, because, and he told me to say this, that it would give kind of a content that is longer term and really emphasizes guilds, because that would be really the only reason in PvE that you need a guild.
I have to ask now. No, Scott's not here. Well, he kind of is. But he's not really here. But I have to ask, though, that you're very excited about this idea of possibly the 10-man, right, dungeons. I gotta say, this is getting slightly closer and closer to traditional MMO World of Warcraft-esque content, which most Guild Wars 2 players coming off of 1 didn't really want this type of content. And now I'm wondering what's making you so excited about them kind of like doing that? Is it just that because the progression aspect isn't there? So
exactly. Nobody wants that vertical progression in Guild Wars 2, or most people don't want it. But if content is there that's challenging for larger groups and gives guilds a real place that doesn't go back to needing vertical progression, although, again, later on in the interview, he talks about, like, a new reward type. And that's concerning, because if that new reward type is found in the depths of the dungeon, then you get back to, okay, is that vertical progression, even if it's not necessarily stronger, it's new and therefore desirable? So he was just all over the place with that interview.
Let me ask you, how do you feel about now? We've been how many episodes in? We're 48 episodes in. How many months since launch? How do you feel? How do you feel about the number of players actively playing in the community? Do you feel like it's dropped off at all? Because I feel like we have seen an exodus of players who are missing the progression, and they've gotten to the part of the end game, and they're like, now what?
You get a fair number of those, and obviously, like every MMO, drops off after launch at some point, with a couple of notable exceptions. Sure. But so there has been a normal drop-off, but I don't see a lot of people just saying, I don't have anything to do. And those people mostly identified beforehand, oh, Guild Wars 2 isn't going to have that, I probably shouldn't try it.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that they don't have something to do, but I'm saying I do see more players
that they're missing the progression.
Right, and a few of my friends who came from other progression-based MMOs who tried it, had fun, but just all kind of got to the point and just said, I don't see the point. Like, it's just kind of, I guess what I'm getting at is I'm wondering if we're starting to see, I wonder if ArenaNet will start coming around to start adding some of those things into it. I wonder if this whole non-progression aspect of the game could slightly could slightly maybe have not have been the right move. Could it be hurting them?
I'm not certain that they would actually net more players if they move to that, because there are so many people right now who are like, I love that there's no progression and I can come in and run 18 billion alts and still have just as much fun and just as much success and just as many shiny rare items. So I feel like
I'm watching chat while you're talking, not to cut you up, but I'm watching chat. I just see somebody saying like, I didn't think I'd miss progression, but I actually do.
I do, and that's totally legit.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering. Like, and I don't think they're just going to jam it in all at once and just be like, oh my god, now there's just full on progression. And I'm definitely not going there. But talking to a lot of devs and stuff, because this was actually a really hot topic at PAX, like sitting around having beers with devs and stuff. And Guild Wars 2 was just right there on the cusp. It had just come out, and it was like everybody was talking. And a lot of devs from they were talking about the numbers and things. I'm talking about other people from other companies. They say, if you look at the statistics and the numbers, they're like, gamers seem to say that they don't like progression, but it's just not in the numbers. Like, progression actually holds players much longer, has them playing more and engaged longer than non-progression. So big gamble that Guild Wars is going with here. I'm just wondering if, I just find it interesting that they're now, they're hinting at like 10-man stuff, and it's like, sounds more like, they're gonna have like endgame rating kind of content things. And
yeah, we'll have to see.
For it.
I am. I've never like I have a problem with vertical progression, but not with raids or that sort of structure.
And I'm not insinuating this is bad at all. I'm definitely not insinuating that. Like, if ArenaNet figures out as a team that like, hey, horrible, we need to change a little bit and move a little bit and nudge in this direction. Like, hey, all good for the game. Like, there's no the only stupid move is trying to like have too much of an ego that you don't want to go back on your word because you just said something was going to be a specific way. I'd love to see them if they make changes for the better and it moves towards something like that it's actually done. Yeah,
they've been so careful with their updates and kind of balancing so far that I feel like if they make that sort of change, they'll do it in a very sure and measured and gradual way, because that tends to be how they're approaching balancing everything. So I don't think that they're going to be like, oh, by the way, Tuesday's patch is going to introduce 3 new tiers and you can only get them by doing this sort of dungeon or whatever.
Yeah, I don't see that at all. Yeah. No.
So I see them being very cautious about it.
As this dungeon, you're speculating that you think it could possibly be like a never-ending dungeon? Like, it absolutely never ends. There's no... It just keeps getting progressively harder and you just try and see how far you can get?
That's kind of an extension of it. Like, I just think it'll be longer than your typical dungeon, and you'll be able to hit a stage where you say, okay, I feel like I have completed, like, you don't feel like you're walking away from it empty-handed or without having completed an objective. So I feel like it would be something that goes on, but I could be totally wrong. It might just be something where, like, every time you go into it, it gets harder or something. I don't really know.
We will find out.
You will.
So the Lost Shores Island, it isn't going to be a full-size map, but it's a place where they want to have the storyline played out. So not a huge, big expansion of environment area, but I don't think anyone was expecting kind of like an ore-sized like patch sort of thing. And then the island will still be there after the weekend, of course, if you see the event or miss the event. And the team do say that they want to add more content down the road. So I don't know if there's going to be reason to go back anytime soon after the event or not. It's going to be interesting how they play this out. I'm really curious to see how they start doing these events, because they've been really interesting. And we saw like some of that stuff in beta, which was awesome. So next up, new gem store items have been spotted. So they've been showing up in the search system and on a trading post, which I guess sounds like a bug.
Yeah, it sounds like some sort of list entry error.
2 of the items that spotted are ones we already knew about. So we knew about the name change contract coming. That's coming, and a portable vendor that's also coming. Hopefully we'll see those soon. Probably November update, I'm going to assume.
Hopefully. Yeah.
We don't know. Hopefully.
Seems like a good guess.
But new stuff. We all want to know about new stuff. Power Trader. Power Trader. So this is a booster. Here's a booster which allows you to stack items up to 1,000 and list the same item up to 4 times on the trading post. Confused? What is this? Who is this for?
So it's actually for exactly what it sounds like, the people whose whole fun in the game is manipulating the economy or playing the economy, or however you want to phrase it. So right now you can only list a certain number of items well, you can list as many items as you want, but you can only list a certain number of a single item, and you can only make so many listings. So it sounds like they're going to limit players as it is now, because I know that you can create multiple listings right now. So it sounds like they're going to limit it, and then if you want to be a power trader, you buy this, and it allows you to make transactions at a larger scale.
Go like. Power trader! Somebody in chat. I just stole that from somebody in chat because that was a good one. Next up, this one is stat reset is the next one. Stat reset, which I don't know. It seems, I don't know. It doesn't seem quite right. I'm kind of surprised by this one. I guess maybe this is to reset your traits out in the wild.
This seems like it's kind of maybe far out on the branch of quality of life, because it's something that you can get in game for a number of silver. You just have to go to one of the actual trainers to do that. So it sounds like something where you pay a small fee and you get to reset it wherever you want at your convenience, which is technically quality of life. But yeah, interesting.
Why do you say it like that?
Just because it's not something I foresaw being in the trading post. Like it's not like a horrible abrogation and oh, this is getting so close to buy to play or buy to win or whatever.
I don't see how's it buy to win.
No, it's not that at all.
It's really not.
But it is something that so many people have said would be something that they like need. If we're going to go into dungeons, I have to be able to reset my traits whenever I want. So it's just not what I anticipated.
Yeah, it is interesting. The next one on here, RC controller is the next one. What do you think? A mini game potentially?
Must be. It's got to be, unless they actually want you to like turn into a car to drive down.
RC controller. Beaches. That's all we know. That's the next. So I don't know. A mini game. But that's I think what we're all thinking. I don't know. A sealed package of snowballs, maybe for Christmas. I don't know.
That definitely sounds Christmassy.
Finally, we've got a BWE transform weapon. I have no idea what that is, but I don't know. Guess weapon skins.
Must be either that or it's something that like.
Weapon? I mean,
it might be something. Again, if we're guessing that this is a bug, it might be something they don't actually intend to sell at all, and it's just like leftover from legit one of the beta weekend events. Like either, yeah. So who knows?
We do not know. We will find out soon enough. All right, let's do some viewer questions. If you guys have a question for GuildCast, make sure to send it in to submit@gamebreaker.tv. We answer your questions every single week. Before that, really quickly, I got to tell you about the Netflix. Go on over to netflix.com/GameBreakerTV. Sign up for the free 30-day trial. Netflix.com/GameBreakerTV. Free 30-day trial with your name on it. Just go on over, sign up, free for 30 days. No questions asked. You can cancel at any time. It's $8 a month after that if you want to keep it. I know you're going to love it when you try it. Liz and I here could talk about Breaking Bad for the next 30 minutes, but we won't.
We could,
but I'm going to move on. Let's do some viewer questions. Again, if you guys have a question for GuildCast, send it in. Submit@gamebreaker.tv. We love video questions. We don't get enough video questions on the shows.
Don't.
You guys got to record yourself, post it up on the YouTube, keep it like 30 seconds to a minute, and send us the link at submit@gamebreaker.tv. We'll play it. Don't be shy. It's fun. All right, so first up this week from Doug Maxwell. Doug is a cute little bunny. Says, is there anything in the works to stop or discourage servers from 2v1 and ganging up on one server in Dub v Dubs? The only thing we have not heard anything. Yeah, there really isn't, right?
Yeah.
We did hear, I forget who it was. Was it Martin or somebody just hinted a few weeks ago that there was some very big Dub v Dub stuff in the works that they didn't want to talk about of how it was going to fundamentally work. I don't know if that means anything like that. It could have any implications on this. I don't know.
Yeah, we got some sort of forewarning that something would be changing, and the orbs of power were recently taken out, which I don't think is what they were talking about. But actually, when they first started talking about the 3-faction world versus world versus world, they were talking about they actually don't mind people ganging up. Like, if one server is being over-dominant, they kind of want the other two to work together and kind of see how that power fluctuates. So that's actually not like a bad thing, it seems, in their book.
Yeah, I mean, that's what used to happen on, like, I go back to, like, Dark Age of Camelot, the three-faction PvP there is the same thing. Like, guilds would form alliances with other guilds, and they would, it's sort of the same thing. I think that's, like, kind of encouraged to some extent. Yeah. That's what's got to keep the flow moving. Next
Absolutely.
up, Zuzana Kubik says, why are there no mounts in Guild Wars in the Guild Wars series? Do you think that ArenaNet will break with that tradition and sooner or later implement mounts in Guild Wars 2? After all, rare mounts in the gem store would obviously increase its popularity and overall sales. Well, I agree with her second part of the question for sure, that they would be a huge seller. There's no doubt about that. People love the shiny mounts in
Absolutely.
MMOs.
But please.
They've kind of said, I don't know if we heard them say like there will never be. I don't think they've ever said there will never be mounts. No, but
yeah, they've never said that they're never going to be a thing. But there's at this point, aside from Sparkle Pony Factor, there's really not a real need for them. I mean, and for one thing, given the cost of teleporting around, a mount, I feel like in-game gold would be prohibitively expensive, just because they already have a system by which you pay money to get places quickly.
Would you like to have mounts though? I won't say flying mounts yet because that's a whole nother can of worms that opens up, right? But let's start with mounts. Would you like to see mounts though in the game?
I have never been a big fan of them, just because I typically enjoy the kind of process of getting to places. I'm the sort of player who I'll be like, okay, I'm going to go to this one place and I'm going to do that thing, and then I'll do 15 things along the way. I'll be like, oh, there's more over there, and oh, there's an event. So that, for me, mounts would do nothing, because if it was a mount that couldn't be in combat, I'd be getting off it every 2 to 3 minutes, because I'd be like, oh, no, wait, there's an event, I want to go do that. So it would.
Why would a land mount really change much of that though? Like, you're still just traveling from one place to the other, just going a little bit quicker. You're on a mount. I mean, it's not that different than walking, really. Flying mounts, whole different story. I'm not a huge fan of flying mounts. They're super cool, but like the social aspects of flying mounts, of how they destroy the social aspect of MMOs.
Oh, absolutely.
But I guess, later on in the game, like in WoW, like in most areas, like if you didn't have a flying mount, man, that'd be a pain in the butt. But
it would suck, yeah. So for me, if I want to get somewhere quickly, ArenaNet already has a system by which I can get there quickly. So
what if you want to RP though? What if you want to RP and you want to walk?
Then I want to probably walk.
I guess that's really not even RP, because the portals are just part of the lore.
Yeah, they are. And honestly, again, so if I'm walking and fighting, like if I'm fighting my way to a place, I'm not on my mount unless there's mounted combat, which would be a whole nother thing, in which case I'm probably a lot more okay with it. So I just don't. And also, someone in chat just brought up a point that Char don't ride horses, so it'd be interesting to find a mount that actually worked across all the races, unless you give little tiny lizards to the Asura, and Char have these war beasts.
What do you think of I see somebody in chat saying, I think it's JKK, said I would put mounts in Dub v Dub and make them killable.
See, that's a whole different thing, because that's like an actual gameplay element, so that'd be cool. Like if you could get up on the Dolyak and ride your Dolyak mount into battle, that'd be super cool.
All right, last up this week, this one in from Josh Hagood, says, is the Dub v Dub's requirement for monthlies unfair or too hard? I tried to get mine for October and did everything else, but we were being stomped by another server, and I squeaked out only 6 kills in a couple hours and couldn't finish. Also, is the reward worth it? What do you think of part 1 of that?
So part 1, there are 4 weeks over which you have 4 separate matchups, as long as we're on the 1-week system. So if you're getting, go in the first week, and if you're getting stomped, go in the second week, and if you're getting stomped, go in the third week, and if you're getting stomped, switch servers. There's, there's no reason. In fact, for October, I waited till the 28th, and then I was like, oh crap, there's this achievement. So I went in, and it was actually the perfect time. There was this huge struggle going on for a really dinky little supply camp, and I ended up getting all 50 kills in about an hour and a half. Just it happened out that way. And this month I'm trying not to rely on months, so I'm being much more intentional about already going in. I have about 20 kills right now. So I don't think it's too difficult, unless you're on a super sucky server, in which case the achievement reward is good, but it's not so good that if you hate World versus World, you should be doing it anyway.
Have you seen PvE players complaining about PvP being included in their monthly achievements? I mean, is that a valid complaint, do you think?
I don't want to say that someone's complaint is invalid, but it's not like they're saying, get up to this rank in structured PvP. They're saying, hey, do World vs. World, which is kind of a nice medium. And since World versus World, they're kind of in-game subtly hinting by giving you blueprints as an end storyline reward that it's kind of your end game. So I don't know. It's just,
Basically, Liz says, "Stop whining.
Stop
whining." That was my.
I really don't.
Richie Procopio, follow him over on the Twitter at Richie Procopio. Look, he even gets a plug, even he's not even here. Follow Richie Procopio, the Yeti, on Twitter at Richie Procopio. Of course, go over to Bog Otter, his YouTube channel, and all this great stuff that he writes here right on Gamebreaker.tv. Elizabeth Clare, follow her on the Twitter at Elixabeth Clare with an X. An X. And go over to massively.com and read all her amazing work over there as well. And the Hawkman, Mr. Scott Hawks. Follow him on Twitter at Jarimor, Jarimor. Go over to Zam.com. Go over to Guildhead.com. Go over to LawKing.com or LawKing.net. I think it's .net. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's .net. Screw that. I think they have the .com and the .net. Follow me at Gary Gannon, and you can follow Gamebreaker TV at Gamebreaker TV. And don't forget about our giveaway going on all month with Rift. Go on over there to Gamebreaker.tv/giveaway. Don't be left out. Try one of 10. Yes?
Don't forget that they just announced this today, but the weekend of the 15th, so like the 15th through the 18th, you can refer 3 friends if you have an account that's in good standing as of yesterday. So if you have friends who really want to play Guild Wars but don't want to pay for it or want to test it out, get them codes.
Get them codes, people. All right, guys, we'll be back next week for another GuildCast video show live every single Wednesday at 6 PDT. Have a great week. See you next week.